All right. Today we're going to be doing a review of A Record of a Spaceborn Few, which is the third book in the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. All right, so let's just get the basics out of the way. I will have timestamps down below. I have reviewed all of the other books, so if you are interested, if you just found this one and you're interested in seeing my reviews on book 1, 2, and 4, those will be linked below. And yeah, let's get into it. So let's just touch very basics of the series. This is a science fiction. It takes place in the future in space. Humans, for the most part, no longer live on Earth. And I would say science level, this is a really great science fiction series to get into. It's not super hard science. It's not too soft of a science. I think science-minded people will like it because it doesn't, Becky Chambers, from my understanding, doesn't break any of the rules of physics or thermodynamics or what have you, but it also doesn't over-explain and over-complicate those science elements, which means non-science-minded people, I think, would like it too. I think it bridges that really nice medium. So all of these books in this series are companion novels. So you might be asking the question, can you read book 3 before you read book 1 and 2? And you most certainly could read this before book 2. They are not related to each other at all. They don't really follow any of the same information. Can you read this before book 1? No, if you don't want to be spoiled. This book would spoil the final plot point of the first book. So if you don't care about that, then you could jump right into this one. But if you do care about that, then you should probably read the first book first, but if you have no interest in reading the second book, you could jump straight to the third after that. Let's talk plot. So this book is super human focused. Basically, when the world was collapsing way before this book started, there were some people that went to Mars, there were some people that stayed on Earth, and there were some people that left in the Exodus fleet. And the fleet went out into space, and then they were discovered by alien species, and then that's how the humans became a part of the Galactic Commons. We are following people on the Exodus fleet. So how the Exodus fleet kind of fits into the Galactic Commons is that it's kind of seen as this rural, middle of nowhere, kind of hick human place. No one but humans live there. No one really has the desire to. The tech's very old and out of date. A lot of humans wanted to get away and see the big interspecies series, and so the population has been dwindling quite a bit throughout the years. We're following a group of people on the Exodus fleet about, right after the events of book 1 occur. And there aren't any repeat characters except for Ashby's sister, who was just briefly mentioned in the first book, but we didn't actually meet as a character. So basically, plot-wise, we're following a group of people on the Exodus fleet and their experiences during it. It's very much a slice of life book. And it's not that the place is rural, there's a bunch of different ships that are all kind of connected to each other, and all of the ships can visit one another, but there's this sense of you kind of being in the middle of nowhere in the universe and people just wanting to get out or knowing that there's more out there, and they interact in a completely different way than other parts of the universe. Okay, let's talk about the structure. So in this book, you're following 5 different perspectives. You're following an elderly woman who is what is she called? I can't think of the name, but she's a holder of knowledge. Kind of like the people in The Giver, but she's not the only one. She doesn't have to hold all the knowledge and keep it from people. It's actually not like The Giver at all, but whatever. She's kind of an archivist. Is that the right term? And she was alive before humans became a part of the GC. You're following Tessa, who is Ashby's sister, and just kind of her experiences in day-to-day life on this fleet. You're also following Aes. I listened to the audiobook, but I don't remember if that's how it's pronounced. And her job is to prep and take care of the deceased. So they use all of their resources when someone dies. They go back into their earth and they become useful on the fleet. Nothing goes unused, including the dead, and there's a lot of ceremonial aspects to it. And she's like she takes care of people in death and then the people who surround the person who has passed away. You also follow Kip, who is a young boy or who is a teenager who lives on the fleet. He's kind of bouncing from work job to work job, trying to figure out where he wants to fit in, but he really just wants to get out, and he's like the angsty energy of the book. And then you're following Sawyer, who is not from the fleet anymore. He is Exodus. Most humans at one point were Exodus, or Exodins, and he's coming back and hoping to find his roots and dealing with culture shock along the way. During this experience, Isabella, the elderly woman, has an alien visitor who is coming and wanting to learn more about the Exodans. And so you also get like tidbits of the articles or blog posts, I guess, that she's posting about her experiences living with humans and living on the Exodus fleet, which most alien life doesn't really care about or finds kind of like cute and like niche. These characters don't all know each other. So some of them interact and you see kind of like the web of interactions occur, but it's not like they all know each other and they're all communicating always. So I found that the storyline was kind of like stop and start, especially at the beginning, and it was very jolty because you had no idea how these people were going to come together, how they were going to know each other. You saw some of them communicating, but they don't all communicate. They don't even all know each other. And so you kind of see like the web of life and how everyone interacts, and to get a fuller picture of what the Exodus fleet, what the fleet looks like, or what fleet life looks like. I would say because of that, as in terms of all of the books, this was the hardest one to kind of like melt into or get into. It took a bit more time because I was like, wait, who is this? Who are they following? Do they know anyone yet? There's a lot more thought that you have to put into it as a reader to kind of understand what's going on. All right, let's talk world building and species building. So I feel like a broken record with these, but like the world building, it's like kind of like she's describing stuff that you already know. I'm kind of just in my head, I'm envisioning a small town, but the small town is a spaceship, where a place where everyone knows each other. You kind of have community centers. There's a point where she kind of goes through the structure of all of the ships and how the ships are connected. And it gives you a really good idea of like what the ship structure looks like from a planner's perspective, but not necessarily like the detail and the life of what each of those places look like. You do get some impressions of these, like people leave their handprints on the wall, and you might move into a place that hasn't been lived in for a long time, and those are the types of things you might notice, but you don't get like very, very descriptive terms of what everything looks like. And while I'll usually talk about species building, there isn't much going on here because you have only one alien character really for the most part that you see on the page. And she does do a good job of kind of describing this species a bit more and getting you to understand them a little bit more and like how they operate and how they're different from humans through her interactions with human characters. It isn't a focus of the book. It's mainly focused on humans. Let's talk themes. This book is very much about the trajectory of the human species through time and how we deal with grief and how we deal with change and if we want to change or not as a species. And I think that each human has a different idea about it. And so I don't really think it gives you a full answer of what that looks like. But there is a much heavier emphasis on grief in this book. And the other books are so lighthearted that I was surprised by something that occurred on the pages of this that kind of set in motion the second half of the book, because you watch people's responses to this specific event. This one's a lot shorter. My final thoughts, of the 4 books, I've read all 4 at this point, and of the 4 books, this one was my least favorite. I really did like it. I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed learning more about the human trajectory and how humans got to where they were, but for me personally, I just found the plot of this one the least interesting in terms of what was happening. I wasn't really attached to any of the characters, and I'm much more interested about the alien species, which, spoiler, if you like that, go to book 4 or watch my review for book 4 or read book 4 instead of reading this one if this doesn't sound as interesting to you. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know if you've read this. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Let me know if this was helpful to you, or if there's any other information you would like in my reviews. If this is your first time on my channel, or this is the first video you've seen, hello, thank you for being here. I review different science fiction and fantasy. I have a whole playlist of all of my reviews. I will link that somewhere. And I hope you find other books you like. So that's all I got, and until next time, happy reading!